Ми подолаємо зиму, яка почалась 24 лютого, триває 8 травня, але точно скінчиться і її розтопить українське сонце. І ми зустрінемо наш світанок усією країною. І рідні та кохані, друзі та близькі будуть поруч знову. Нарешті знову. І над тимчасово окупованими містами і селами наш прапор замайорить знову. Нарешті знову. І ми зберемось разом, і буде мир нарешті знову. І більше ніяких чорно-білих снів, а тільки синьо-жовта мрія. Нарешті знову. За це боролись наші предки. Вічна шана всім, хто протистояв нацизму. Вічна пам'ять всім загиблим під час Другої світової війни.
SAR Experience.
Привіт and a very happy May 9th, Victory Day, but I'm wearing this flag, which is going to distinguish me from many Russians who are probably out today thinking delusionally that they are celebrating some sort of modern victory over Nazism, because today I want us to celebrate Ukraine's victory over Russian fascism, the fascism that has been afflicting Europe in 2022, as many people around the world pay homage to those who defeated fascism both on May 8th, it's normally celebrated in the rest of Europe, but in the former Soviet Union in general, it's celebrated on May 9th. And May 9th is also Europe Day. It's also kind of appropriate considering that one of the precursors or causes to Russia's invasion of Ukraine was the fact that, well, Ukraine wanted to head towards the west, towards the European Union, and move out of Russia's sphere of influence. And Russia refused to accept, at least President Putin of Russia refused to accept that and launched this war against Ukraine. So, yeah, May 9th, why am I saying that Ukraine has won? Why are we celebrating the Ukrainian victory? Well, I already called the war back on day 30. We're actually on, well, May 9th, making this video in anticipation of May 9th. It's not actually May 9th today. Going to get it out early, but it's day 75 of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. I called the war already on the 30th. That was because Russia's strategic goals in the war, I'm just here in Galway, my hometown where I grew up, and we're on a very beautiful evening. Got some people giving a peace sign, which is quite appropriate for the video. And Russia failed in its strategic goals, and actually I had thought they had already failed by about day 23, but I didn't say anything online until day 30 just because no one was saying, not even the mainstream media was that optimistic about Ukraine's chances. And just, if you look at Russia's strategic goals with this war, which was basically to change power in Kiev, seize power in Kiev by replace Zelensky and the democratically elected Ukrainian government with a pro-Russian puppet government, it wouldn't really, from what I can see, have very much support in the country. So I'm not sure how they ever planned to keep him in power. And probably to end up annexing the parts in the south and the east formally into Russia, which is kind of what they've gone for now in this phase 2. Anyways, they never got close to that. The war in the north turned into a bit of a disaster and they retreated out of Kiev. Now, of course, they're claiming it's all a big feint to sacrifice a huge amount of materiel and elite troops in Kiev to just leave at the end. Doesn't make any sense, but phase 2 of the war has focused on Donbass, which is the region in the very east of Ukraine where Russia de facto had controlled large parts of before the February 24th invasion. Now on day, or we're going to say day 75, well, that has more or less stalled completely, if not gone into reverse, because the Ukrainians have been gaining territory in Kharkiv, which cuts off one of the major supply lines for the push down through Izium. And in general, they just haven't made that much progress, the Russians, in the east of Ukraine. Not enough to sustain this effort and actually take it as they wanted to. Been listening for the last 2 months. Look at the east from the pro-Russians, and really they haven't advanced that far. Where they have made progress, it's been very slow. It's been like 1 to 2 kilometers a day. So that's just not enough. If you look back on the south, when they advanced out of Crimea at the beginning of the war, where they did have some success, like taking Kherson and the water supply for Crimea, at Nova Kakhovka, they advanced at a rate that was probably about 10 times, almost as fast. So they're really not making the progress, and they basically cumulated. And add to that, that two other factors. The West has been sending so many heavy weapons to Ukraine, which is different to the beginning of the war, where they sent mainly things that would knock out tanks or shoot down airplanes like the Javelin and the Stinger. Now they're sending heavy weapons like tanks, howitzers, and other air defense systems. They say the West, but it's not just coming from America or the UK, it's also coming from Central Europe. They're sending a lot of material. Maybe not all of them are the latest equipment, but it is resupplying the Ukrainians. And whilst the Russians can try and hit those supply lines and slow it down, they're realistically, if the Ukrainians keep getting resupplied, and both with material and financially from the West, we had US President Joe Biden say that it's going to be a $33 billion package for Ukraine, both military aid and financial aid. So basically, Ukraine will, as long as they don't surrender or strike an unfavorable peace deal, which the government has excluded, they're basically going to now move from more defensive operations to more offensive, like in the south and the east. And the other factor to bear in mind is, like, we got this beautiful evening in Galway on the west coast of Ireland. This is not a part of the world that is known for its good weather, but something similar is happening in Ukraine right now. The weather has turned. It is now, let me show you the grass maybe while I do this. It's not going to be as green in Ukraine, the grass, but basically it's gone from being very muddy up until about a week ago, and now you can see it's going to be like this. It's going to be hard, and that means that basically you can start to drive tanks off-road. That's going to favor an offensive operation with heavy armor, and Russia have been ironically doing that in the last month, trying that when it was very muddy. So that wasn't the best time. Now they are still making some progress on one small axis. They can circle some Ukrainian troops there, but around Severodonetsk. But other than that, really it's not going anywhere. It's culminated almost entirely. And that means we're probably going to see a situation like in the north of Ukraine pretty soon. That would be the wise thing to do from the Russian point of view. Declare victory and leave. Maybe they will do that, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll go for full mobilization today and May 9th. Who knows? Let's see what happens. But Russia failed in its decapitation attempt of the Ukrainian leadership, either to just get it to run away and be replaced, or to kill the leaders of Ukraine. That hasn't succeeded, and now the kind of second phase and the attempt to try and gain something from it is also culminated and about to fail. So basically it means we're looking at a Ukrainian victory. If you look at both sides' strategic interests. Now that doesn't mean that it's maybe something to celebrate overall, because this war has absolutely decimated the lives of millions of people, destroyed them, either because they blew up the cities, like you look at Mariupol, Russia just razed it, Volnovakha the same, struck the center of Kharkiv where I used to hang out and bring my clients, and wrecked it entirely, and also struck cities like Odessa, Kiev, just with random rocket attacks, both on military targets and just on terrorists, just being a terrorist and bombing civilian residential areas. Awful stuff. We have all the litany of war crimes that have been committed. Probably tens of thousands of people are already dead, both Ukrainian civilians, Ukrainian soldiers and Russian soldiers. Hundreds and hundreds of billions of euros of damage in Ukraine, infrastructure. So much of the good work that has been done in the last few years in Ukraine has just been completely vandalized. So it's kind of a bittersweet sensation to go and celebrate it. Just like in the Second World War, where you had a German imperialistic Reich attack the Soviet Union, who they've been allied to, which people in the Soviet Union tend to forget. The Second World War didn't start in 1941, it started in 1939 when they invaded Poland along with Nazi Germany. But yeah, then you had the Russian Reich, Freudian slip that, you had the German Reich try to expand for Lebensraum, living room, to the east. And now you have the Russian Reich trying to expand westwards and failing to do so. So yeah, today it's a tough day to feel celebratory, but I think there's, especially been back here in Ireland, when I think about Ireland's struggle against British imperialism, basically it's only when the British realized that they couldn't win the war that eventually they started to agree to peace terms. There was actually a stalemate didn't really lead to a satisfactory long-term peace entirely on the island of Ireland. But actually yesterday with Sinn Féin performing so highly in the local elections in Northern Ireland. Sinn Féin, by the way, is the former political wing of the IRA, who are, we'll say, Irish Republicans, so they want Ireland to unite, and they use violence in order to try and achieve that for a long number of years. But yeah, basically, when it became a stalemate, they had to sit down, the British, and discuss peace terms and basically make a compromise. And that's basically what happens with a lot of imperial armies when they try to deny the right to the local people to determine their own future. Basically goes on until they realize that they've been defeated in achieving their strategic aims. So that's what we see in Russia at the moment. Whether they realize or not, I'm not entirely sure, but that's the situation on the ground. And Ukraine will almost certainly go on the offensive with equipment and material supplies that they've got from the West, in particular in the last month or so, now that the weather is favorable for that and the Russian forces have effectively culminated. So on this day, May 9th,
Slava Ukraine.
whoa, Herom Slava. Wow, perfect timing. Молодец. So yeah, Slava Ukraina, Herom Slava, May 9th, Europe Day, a new day, a new dawn for Ukraine.
SAR Experience.